So I want to introduce our next speaker of today, Markos. He is the founder of Interactive Squash. And basically, Markos Kern is also the founder of Fun with Balls, the company behind innovations like Interactive Squash, Multiball, and Limbic. And with his recent book, Quantum Leap, he is one of the global thought leaders of sports tech. Markos will discuss how squash can compete with other sports and entertainment in our time by embracing its biggest competition, technology. Also, Markos, I just want to say that Interactive Squash is 100% on my list. And as soon as I launch, I'm actually in touch with a lot of people in your team. I don't know if they told you, but
of course
that's
they do.
the plan. Okay, amazing. So that's the plan, hopefully to bring it into Dubai permanently and not just temporarily. So yeah, we'll be in touch. Okay. Anyway, just so I don't take more of your time, go ahead. I'm so excited, and I'm sure we're all so excited to hear what you're going to have to say.
Wonderful.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. We might even have a little, if you're fast, you might even have your chance in getting it to Dubai in a very, very simple way at the end of my presentation. Hello, everybody. My name is Markos. Some of you I already know. I've been new to the squash world. We're now in the squash world for 5 years. I'm an outsider of the squash world. I'm not a former player. I haven't been in the federations, but I've made a lot of friends, and we're in touch with a lot of amazing people. And today I'm going to share a little bit what we are up to and why we are up to it and how you can actually benefit from that. Does everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Wonderful. Cool. I'm known for 2 or 3 things. I'm known to be very fast. I'm known to be a little bit hyperactive, and I'm known to be also a little bit too direct sometimes. So today I'm going to also poke into the hornet's nest at some point. So please excuse me if I step on your toes. I'm going to make it up later. Good. So far with Interactive Squash, we have more than 75,000 hours played by consumers. There's obviously probably 15,000 people that we had to play before we developed it. One person we met a lot is that kind of stereotype. And just to come up in the very front, and I'm going to come back to that at the very end of my presentation, no, you don't deserve to be in the Olympics right now. I know it's been a topic here. I know it's amazing people, it's amazing strategies, but you simply don't deserve it right now. And later, I will come back to this and tell you why I put this here. I'm going to take you through 3 stages. First, I'm going to tell you why we do what we do. And just like my previous speaker mentioned, this is a very important thing. We're here for a reason. If we were deciding to just make money with sports, we'd probably go somewhere completely else, and we wouldn't have started with squash. The second thing is we're going to show you how we do it. And the third thing is we're going to show you how it can benefit from you, and also share some tips how that might actually help you in things that are completely unrelated to interactive squash. Number 1, why are we here? It's very, very simple. Right now, we have a massive problem in the world that people are way, way, way too less active. Like, especially if you look at young people, the rate of sports being done, the rate of participation in all sports is rapidly declining. There's very obvious reasons to that, but it's at a drastic level, and we need to act because most people don't realize how bad it is, but it is really bad. The WHO, which we're in contact with, suggests that a normal person should do 150 minutes of sports, a minimum. The problem is the global population does 223 minutes average phone use. That sounds like, okay, cool. There might be some, okay, we can achieve that. The only bigger problem is one is per week, the other one is per day. So literally most of us around the world use about 1.5 times the amount of sports they should do per week, just staring at our phones, at our desktops, at our computer games, and so on. So now we have the right people, and this is a little bit the grumpy guy from the beginning, but now somebody stands up, but hell, squash is the healthiest sport in the world. Like, we can solve that problem. Well, there's one problem I always have with this term. It refers to one article from 2003. And this is basically one of the problems that the sport has per se. It's very narrowly focused on itself. And it tries to raise the flag, and it tries to go into the Olympics saying, like, but we are the healthiest sports in the world. By one article, that's almost 20 years ago. And my question that I want you to ask yourself during my presentation, is that the message that you want to send? Do you want to go into these conversations and say, hey, there's other cool stuff, but hey, somebody said 20 years ago, we are the healthiest sport. Just let that sink in. On planet Earth, 1 out of 5,000 plus people, might be way more than 5,000, but that's the thing, is a squash player. 1 out of 2 is a gamer. Gaming didn't exist 20 years ago. About the time when you were having that quote about Forbes saying squash is the healthiest sport, probably 1 out of 200 was a gamer. So it's always good to understand the challenges that you're facing in today's world. And as some of the previous speakers, also Zina, mentioned really, really nicely, there's a massive, massive need to reinvent the way that you communicate the sport, that you cater the sport, that you organize it, and how you actually also make it visible. This is basically the enemy that's about to fight. It's not other sports, it's distraction. And the way this really, really works nicely, this is why this new product is called the Limbic. It attracts your brain in a very, very simple way. It's highly attractive, and you can start with it really, really fast, and it gives you endorphins right away. Sports per se don't have that. To have a really, really good feeling about a sport, you need to train it. You need to invest first. That's something that we have to change. It's very simple. The limbic brain is basically, it's cutthroat logic down to payment. It's literally, do I do that? Do I get my endorphins? There's no way around it. There's no, yes, but you should do it because it's so healthy. And Forbes said, no, it's just like, if I spend half an hour with learning how to play squash, I have to sit in the bus, buy a racket, go to the center, talk with the probably old coach to show me how to. Whereas technology has a very, very easy entry. It's always in our hand. If you don't know these guys, you probably have big problems understanding the target audience that you need to fix in order to make the sport grow. This is the result. We see this in a lot of our daily work. A lot of facilities have massive struggles because they don't understand this discrepancy between the people that they try to attract and the product that they try to offer it and how they offer it. The result is revenue goes down, usage goes down, people just find other things to do, and obviously a lot of facilities are struggling. This is why we decided to do what we're doing, and this is basically the core essence of our work every day, because we very, very strongly believe in the sports facility being an amazing place, not just to play sports, but for social interaction, for learning, for making friends, for learning discipline, for learning how to reach your goals. All these social elements, this sense of community comes together in a sports facility. If we don't fix what's wrong with sports facilities, we're losing a massive element of our society. Good. One thing that I always like, and this is a very, very good chart, this is how long it took for certain technologies to be adapted by 50 million users. I'm not going to read this to you, but it shows really, really quickly that in a time like today, there was never, ever so much possibility to have quick adaptation of anything, of a product or technology, within an insanely short time. The telephone took 75 years till 50 million users. Pokemon Go took 19 days. That's it, and don't forget it. The very simple thing that I also mentioned in my book is always think of a mind today is on steroids. It's literally, whereas in the old days, you would start to watch a movie, and maybe halfway through the movie, you'd be, I don't like this movie. You would still finish it. Today, if the movie is not triggering you within 1.5 minutes, you take something else. How do we compete with that? This is the second chapter of my presentation. There's a very, very strong philosophy behind all our products. And it goes to we are a soft and hardware company. So we go into code, we go into algorithms, AI, server-based structures, sensor technology. Forget all that. What we really, really do well is we have a very clear product philosophy to make the things that we develop work really, really well. First part of our philosophy in squash. Squash is not for squash players. I know this might sound strange for a couple of you, but bear with me and try to understand it. If I'm trying to sell squash from a squash player to a squash player, my audience is limited to one out of these 5,000 people. But the one thing that we always said from the very beginning, we need to market squash. We need to make squash attractive for everybody else, for people who like fishing, for people who like fast cars, for people who like computer games, for people who like to just sit together and be social, not to the squash player. And this is one of the big problems that we see in squash. It's very inward thinking. I'll get to that later. Second, broaden the experience. The simple product nowadays needs to be able to compete with Netflix, flying a drone, playing computer games, even getting an online dating profile. You need to be able to compete for that time. How we did it? by making a broad variety of cool applications that are super fast, super fun, super intense. I'm not going to make this a sales pitch for interactive squash. I'm pretty sure most of you have seen the videos. If not, just go over. I'm not going to try to sell you the effect. I'm going to try to sell you the mission that's behind it. So watch the videos, you'll understand what I mean. Second, lower entry barriers. Entering a squash court shouldn't be about squash in the very first step. Make it the coolest place that somebody can think of. The one thing that we learned is invite people, let them do whatever they want. If they want to throw around a frisbee, a rubber frisbee in a squash court and shoot monsters, go for it. At some point, they're always going to go to the reception and ask for a racket because they're realizing, I need to be faster, I can't reach my points, I saw the other guy, he's really going fast. Let that thing be an intrinsic motivation to actually start engage with squash while you're at a squash court. But make sure that you have very low entry barriers. Come in, have some fun. You want to do a children's birthday party, not even think of a racket, go for it. It worked amazingly for the clubs that we upgraded, and it works amazingly to just have people that never considered playing squash actually rub shoulders with the sport and then have a very easy introduction. Third part, more audiences. When you lower the entry barrier, invite completely different people. I don't know, we always ask that, like when there's a squash center, like how many people do you invite for incentives that don't have to do anything with squash? And people are like, but we're a squash center, we have squash trainers, we want to play squash. It's like, well, but you still need to rent out that place, preferably 10 to 15 hours a day, to be able to pay that squash trainer. So we are a big fan of just getting everybody in. Down there's an amazing work that Mark Veldkamp in Holland is doing. It's basically just renting out the squash court for wheelchair kids. And they're having their fun in the world. Down to the right, you see kids having a birthday party just by throwing stuff. And in the middle, you see Sean Moxham training kids with very, very strategic squash skills, but in a very fun way. And the most important thing is, and I know a lot of people don't like that, but I believe very, very strongly that if you want to make something really successful, make it a sustainable business. I'm not saying make it an aggressive business, make it a sustainable business. A squash center that's heavily relying on donations to survive won't work in the long run. A trainer who's giving out every second hour for free so he can at least give some hours but has problem paying his rent, he's not going to be pushing the sport forward. So what and that's obviously something we do really well, we bring usage up to a max and we make it very, very profitable for operators, just offering a broader and obviously a little bit more expensive service. Good. A quick rundown what interactive squash really does. First of all, you can play a load of games. You can play games which are focused on fitness, on reaction, on cognitive training, on learning math, everything. You can play it with a racket, without a racket. It doesn't actually matter. And it's very important for us that it doesn't matter. Second of all, you can do very sophisticated training. The video that you see here, it's actually a very simple thing. Every kid gets told, go back to the tee, go back to the tee. We developed with M-Squash together a super cool app where kids are actually encouraged to spend more time in the tee. You see, as soon as the kids enter the tee, a counter starts counting. So you win 1 point for the rally, but you also win a second point for being more time on the tee than your opponent. And what does it do? It takes a very dull and very boring application that you normally have to learn, and it makes it a very desirable and very fun way to do it for hours, meaning you learn automatically the strategic skills. Then we have motion tracking. So what you see here is a girl doing ghosting. It's a 1-minute session. We're now also implementing something where you can actually see with PSA rallies, if you can actually be as fast as this guy in that match with that opponent. It also puts out a lot of stats, and it shows you how far you've been running, and it shows you what else happened, and heat maps, and so on. Basically, everything that happens in this court is fully recorded, fully tracked, and you get all the data. Then we have the app. So normally if you go in, you just scan the QR code, then you're logged in, you get all that data on your side. This means you can participate in the leaderboards. For example, if you go to the figure 8 training, I think you will always see Sean Moxham, Sanne Veldkamp, and Simon Rösner battling for the top 3. And they're like at 800 shots or so. So you get a very, very nice form of community to actually check out how good are you and compare yourself to the rest of the world. And obviously, how many calories have you burned? How far did you run in that session, and so on. There's a lot of cool new updates coming soon. We're going to have payments soon, a booking system, remote coaching is going to be a huge topic that we're going to be launching in 2021. So basically you can have your coach you without even being present, just by sitting on his laptop. The other thing is obviously court admin, that's the operational side, has a lot of benefits. It's super, super cool for operators. You get a lot of data as well. You know how much this court has been used by which age group and so on. You can put sponsors on it. We have a lot of centers that just put a logo of a sponsor. This is another way that they earn some extra cash. You can even have incentives where we have birthday parties where kids' pictures are put up on the wall. And also you can watch Squash TV in the Squash Court as an application. Events, obviously everybody's seen what we did at the World Series finals in Dubai and Chicago. There's a lot of very, very cool applications, and it's a pretty big area also in sponsor related content. So there's going to be a couple of really cool updates that are coming soon. First of all, we've already announced our future, our eSquash League. This is a completely own league that's based on a game that's a gamified version of squash. The cool thing is all these events can be created, organized, and managed without a single person actually needing to be present, meaning you get a push notification. Do you want to participate in the tournament? There's even prize money. You can then participate. The system's going to tell you who plays against who. There's either events with a referee or without, because the system can by now also automatically do the scoring. And it basically enables you to run a tournament on 24, 26, 48, whatever locations around the world in real time by just the club saying we're going to do an event. And there's obviously also going to be automatic scoring, but also a referee scoring that we're hoping to launch very, very soon. Good. Quick rundown. This is how an interactive squash court looks. I don't want to go too much into the detail because just like you mentioned before, most people should be pretty aware of us. And one thing that somebody said really nicely, which I wanted to share, is somebody we've been in contact for a year or so, buying an interactive squash court, and he came back to us and saying, like, okay, any smart person that looks at you right now knows at some point they're going to switch over to an interactive court. The question is just when. So we're very relaxed. If you have questions, reach out to us. We're happy to walk you through. But normally it's a pretty simple no-brainer. But of course, you gotta have the cash. We are still a very small startup. We're now 22 people already, but we're still running on fumes. And unfortunately, we cannot give out these things for free. So here's a little bit of our financials to have you understand what it actually means for you as a club. First of all, normally you have a hardware for $33,500 and a subscription for $299. We had in the beginning a lifetime license, which is 13,500 euros. And you would think, like, who is insane enough to pay that amount of money? Well, a lot of people have, and it's very, very easy because the ROI and the money that you actually make with an interactive squash court is highly, highly interesting. So it is a big ticket, but obviously everybody, and this is always the easiest way that we recommend, is just talk with the people who have one. They're going to be pretty open. But about a year ago, we dropped the price for the interactive squash court to $29,500. You have to understand the hardware, and this is why there's a little star. We don't earn money with it. This is basically our production price. The hardware that we give to you is super high intensity. We give 5 years warranty. There's a 12,000 euro projector in it. No, 14,000 euro projector in it. So everything is actually just us providing this. So you have the thing. We only earn money with a monthly subscription. So far, obviously, we only earn money if there's 400 or 500 courts with a monthly subscription. So we dropped these prices already a year ago, and we introduced a light version. The light version is just as little as specs. You don't have the video streaming functionality because you can always stream from a court onto Facebook and so on. So we always already dropped that a year ago. Today, I'm very happy to announce that we've been optimizing a lot, and obviously sales are slowly improving, not as fast as without COVID. So we're very happy that we can drop this quite drastically a lot. First of all, there's no more lifetime subscription. We don't offer that anymore, but therefore we're going to be reducing the monthly subscription by $50. We've been reducing about $2,000 of the full version and more than 3,000 of the light version, bringing it down to 16,420. And since we very much like that this is the Squash Summit, I'm very happy for the team to actually prepare that. We like games. So we prepared something even more drastic. We know a lot of people have trouble coming back from COVID. So the first thing we're offering an interactive squash tin. This is even a further step down, and without the big projector, without a lot of functionalities, but it gives you the same scoring, it gives you the same motion tracking, it gives you a lot of value, and you can obviously later upgrade once you make some money with that to actually get a good foot in the door. And it's below 10,000 euros, which is, we're basically spending money on top of that. But then again, we're in it for the long run. So now comes the big one. Like I said, we like games. So we said, okay, how can we actually get you guys back to COVID so without waiting too long? So we have a COVID back to court offer, which is you get the full interactive squash for 25K. You get the light for 15K. There's free installation all around the world, no questions asked, and free shipping. Plus you get a 50% off. This is literally, if you have the right court, obviously, if you have a court in the middle of nowhere in the outback of Australia, you're still not making a lot of money with it, probably more than with a normal squash court. But if you have a court in a city, this is a very, very easy ticket to make money. The reason we're offering this now is we know that a lot of these centers will have massive problems coming back from COVID. What we want to encourage is people actually coming back from COVID with a heavily improved product. And like I said, because we like games, there's going to be 2-3 different rules. We know a lot of you have been asking us, and there's already negotiations going for courts that are going to be installed and whatsoever. It's very simple. You need to go to our website. You need to sign up for the newsletter. On Tuesday at 1 p.m. Central European Time, we're going to be giving out the code for this offer you actually can use to get that discount. It's very simple. First sign gets the discount. There's 5 systems. If you are in negotiations now with Sid, Quentin, or all our other guys, I recommend that you be very, very closely paying attention to this. If you're looking to closing a deal within March, or the earlier the better, you might get that system. It's basically a lot of money that we put down the road to make sure that a lot of sensors have a better product to approach the new audience with a much improved product once COVID restrictions are lifted. And second, the reason why we have the grumpy guy in the beginning and what we always encourage everybody to participate in. We know why we're in this game. We know what we want to do, and we've seen amazing results so far. We've met crazy cool people like Paul Walters, like Alex Goff, Lee Beachill, like everybody who welcomed us in the squash world. And we're like, okay, listen, we're open to innovation. What we see much more is people who are still not considering to change, who are like, oh, let's just. The only thing that this sport is up for a new hype and a new spring of new, fresh people coming in and becoming something much more successful, bigger, larger, and obviously has a ticket to Olympic Games and so on, is if change is managed well. There is a generation change coming. There is a mindset change coming, and there's a gigantic universe of technology that is basically much more attractive than going on a wooden court and hitting a little rubber ball. We need to change that because it has everything for that change in the sport. And if you look at what we do with our courts, if you look at kids being like, okay, the center is going to close down in 2 hours, and it's like, no, can we play longer? This is our business. So we very, very much invite you. If you need any help, we're always there. If you have any questions, now is the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Markos. So yeah, let's take a couple of questions. Jocha, I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. So from Simply Squash is asking you if it's possible to upgrade from light to full after purchasing.
Yes, it is. There's obviously a little gap. Like, it's not like you can upgrade for exactly the same remaining price. Buying a light and then upgrading later is always going to be a little bit more expensive than just buying it full right away. But that's the whole plan.
Amazing. We have another question here from Mira. How has the honest response to interactive squash been, especially with a lot of people unwilling? Oh, sorry, I lost the question. Because when someone asks another question, the whole chat goes down. So how has the honest response to interactive squash been, especially with a lot of people unwilling to accept change?
To be honest, we always see two things. There's always, we call it the immune system. People in the beginning are like, this is bullshit. Like, we don't want to have gaming, blah, 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 blah. Once they see it and once they realize it, most of these people actually become ambassadors of our thing. But there's always this start of negative approach to it. And that's always normal with any form of innovation. So if you're in the innovation business, nobody wants change in the beginning in existing structures. What we really, really like is the people who disliked us very much and then come back and it's like, okay, now I'm slowly getting it. But to be honest, call the people, download our app, check out where interactive squash courts are, call them. We're always happy if that happens without even us supervising it. Honest feedback is the best.
Amazing. Another question from Paul Selby. Has the price of interactive squash been a hurdle for it being accepted and installed in many?
Yes, most definitely. The price is a hurdle out of two reasons. Even though the ROI and the ways to actually earn your money back is visible, and we have a lot of data to support that, and you can call the others, it still means that you need that investment because we as a company cannot say, here's 30,000 euros of hardware paid back slowly. There's leasing options, there's other options. Most of the companies either have the cash by donors or they go to banks. But that's something that we're working on very, very strongly to even get that entry barrier much lower.
Thank you so much, Markos, for your time today and for answering these questions. Are you going to be in the lounge after the session ends?
Yes, I can.
Okay, amazing. So for all our attendees for today, we do have an hour networking session after the conference ends. So please make sure you go and find Markos at his table. Do you know your table number?
No, I actually don't. I'm drastically unprepared normally.
So
yeah, I'll find out.
Yeah, no worries. All of the speakers are placed from tables 31 to 42. So you can just find Markos in one of those tables.
Exactly. I'm going to be roaming around. A little question that I just saw, somebody's asking if that is the light. No, this is the home version, actually. That's called the Limbic. This is the thing that we're launching right now. So this is literally a 800 euro console that you can use for your home. It basically does the same thing, but that's for the next kind of presentation.
Thank you so much, Markos.
Thank you so much. Keep up the great work.
Of course. Thank you.